Hello, everyone. I'll be sharing with you at this time the upcoming Sunday School lesson for July the 10th. The lesson is called The Word Heals, coming from John chapter 4, verses 46 to 54. The lesson for this coming Sunday is the second in a series of 5 lessons coming from the Gospel of John. I'm talking about Jesus being the healer. Now, we have a sense of some of the miracles of Jesus. We find them recorded in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. As we think about the Gospels, the Gospel of Luke gives us a certain perspective of Jesus and miracles, since Luke was a medical doctor, Dr. Luke. But John gives also a perspective because John writes theologically, and he connects the miracles and healings of Jesus to Jesus' personhood, who he is, connecting it with salvation and Jesus' plan for redemption. For example, in John chapter 4, verse 48, Jesus said to the royal official whose son was very sick, "Unless you people see signs and wonders, you will never believe." Think about that. Are we as humans so lacking in faith that it takes seeing something supernatural to believe? Seeing it with our own eyes. What do you think about that? Then, to make matters worse, some people who witnessed these signs and wonders, and maybe they were the one who received the miracle, maybe the one who was healed, did not give God or Jesus the glory for their healing. Let's look at this particular lesson. Jesus had been in Samaria for 2 days. He had witnessed a Samaritan woman by Jacob's well. Jesus had told her about himself being the living water. He told her that she would never thirst again if she drank from him. And during those 2 days, Jesus ministered to many in Samaria, around Sychar. Many Samaritans believed in him. But from Samaria, Jesus and his disciples traveled north up to Cana in Galilee, a trip of about 40 miles, which would have probably taken 2 to 3 days. Cana is west of the Sea of Galilee, and it's up in the hills. Now, Cana was also where Jesus had performed his first miracle, turning water into wine. Now, somehow, a royal official from Capernaum on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee learned that Jesus was in Cana, 15 miles away as the crow flies, but considering the hills and going up, it would have been a rather long, arduous journey for the royal official to get to Jesus. It appears that when the royal official went to Cana, he traveled alone. But who was he? Apparently, he was on Herod Antipas's payroll. He may have been Jewish. Then again, he may have been Roman. He owned servants, which meant that he was at least somewhat affluent. He was also a desperate man. His boy was ill with some kind of fever, and he feared his son would die. That is why he sought Jesus out. I want us to look at how people view Jesus. At this point in his ministry, he was not as well known as he would later be, as he had performed only some miracles at that point. Since the royal official was from Capernaum, perhaps he was familiar, somewhat at least, with Jesus, since Jesus had recruited some of his disciples from Capernaum and area surroundings. And he had healed Peter's mother-in-law from, again, a type of fever. Now, we don't know exactly which happened first, but if Jesus had healed Peter's mother-in-law prior to his son being ill, he may have drawn a connection there, maybe by word of mouth from other people. How he knew that Jesus was in Cana at that moment is rather difficult to know, considering that there were no telephones, not even the Pony Express. Now, people view Jesus as someone like Elijah. In fact, Jesus' words, "Your son will live," is something Elijah had said to the widow at Zarephath, found in 1 Kings 17:23. And then there was the phrase signs and wonders. That went back to the days of Moses. Even seeing the many signs and wonders, the Hebrews failed to trust God completely for their next meal or their next day or their future. Jesus' words here in verse 48 are a rebuke of this lack of faith. The other aspect of this miracle is the true faith of the royal official. He addressed Jesus with respect, "Sir, Rabbi, Master." Although a man of some authority, he did not demand anything of Jesus. He was humble. He was willing to beg for the life of his son. In fact, he was begging, pleading. He was a desperate man. The royal official's plan was to get Jesus to go back with him to Capernaum to heal his son. A long walk, to be sure. But we can imagine that Jesus needed rest. He had just traveled 2 to 3 days from Samaria. And so he told the royal official to just go home. His son would be healed. And lo and behold, when he got home, probably a day later, he discovered that when Jesus had announced that he was going to heal the boy, his son, that the boy was healed at that moment around 1 p.m. And then the royal official believed, and his whole household, his family and his servants, they believed, meaning salvation faith. I'd like to make 3 points. The first is that we will do almost anything for our children. I'm sure you will agree. Now, we could share stories all day long about things we have done for our kids. Parents make sacrifices all the time, and being a parent never ends. And one of the things about being a parent is that we sometimes worry about our kids. We worry about their health. We may worry about their wealth or their lack of it. We may worry about their general well-being, about the decision makings that they are doing. And the same thing is true about grandchildren. Our greatest issue is doing enough for our children, but not doing too little and not doing too much. Doing too much can do as much harm or maybe more than doing too little. Another issue is being appreciative. We want our kids to be appreciative of what we do for them. We want them to say thank you and "I love you, Dad," and "I love you, Mom." Not because we demand it, but because they truly feel it and believe it. This royal official loved his son and would do anything for him. He would have walked 200 miles if needed to find Jesus if it would have meant that his son could have been made whole. The second point is that miracles still happen. Sometimes people read the Bible as if it's only past history. It happened. I believe it. But somehow they don't connect Jesus' actions with the actions of Jesus today. Miracles of all types still happen. I truly believe that. On May 14th, the day of our daughter's outdoor wedding, there were rain clouds all around from 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. when the wedding was to begin. Now, we had a tent. The tent was the backup plan, but our daughter did not want to get married in the tent. She wanted to get married in the open air, looking out on the river. Although it may seem a very small thing, the fact that it did not begin raining until after the ceremony was all over, until after all the electronic equipment had been put up, was indeed a miracle to me, and I thank God for that miracle. And I believe that Jesus still does miracles, that Jesus still heals people today. I hear stories of healing miracles from time to time. I believe them to be true. And maybe God uses doctors 98%, 99%, maybe even 99.9% of the time. But sometimes God heals when doctors can't. I believe that. The third point is that we must believe salvation belief. For Jesus, the miracle was always more than the action of the moment. A number of times, Jesus confronted the person in need, even challenging his or her motive and their faith. When the one leper returned to give thanks for his healing, Jesus asked, "Where are the other 9?" Another time, Jesus questioned a non-Jewish woman, and she responded, "Well, even the dogs eat the table scraps," meaning, I'm not too proud to beg on behalf of my loved one who needs you, who needs a miracle, who needs a healing. I'm not too proud to beg on behalf of my child. But no matter what the miracle or need, Jesus expected genuine faith to follow. Sometimes people failed the test, but this royal official from Capernaum passed with flying colors. Not only did he believe the healing, he believed in the healer. Now that's the message for us today, the healing word, for us to believe the healer, to believe Jesus Christ, the Word of God. God bless. Have a super week.